Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tools for Teachers training. We are very excited to present to you this new tool that's available for Indiana teachers this school year. Today, we will introduce you to several tools in the Tools for Teachers website. By the end of the presentation, you will understand how to access the Tools for Teachers site and how this site can help to support your formative process. Participants will learn how to access instructional resources, the Connections playlist, the professional development resources that are available, formative assessment strategies that can help in the classroom, accessibility considerations, and also sample items. First, let's start off by asking the question, what is Tools for Teachers? As we stated earlier, Tools for Teachers is a newly released website, and it is for teachers, most specifically centered in grades 3 through 12. Not only does it provide numerous instructional resource support, but it also has professional development supports that can be accessed. Tools for Teachers contains lessons, activities, and instructional strategies that are ELA and math focused. Each instructional resource embeds strategies for formative assessment and also for accessibility. And finally, Tools for Teachers houses a variety of sample questions to provide students practice with the types of test questions that they will experience on iLearn. Before we start looking at the details of what is included in Tools for Teachers, I'd like to take a step back and answer a really important question, which is why Tools for Teachers? What started the conversation about this tool that ended with its deployment to Indiana this school year? We at the Department of Education are very committed to providing supports to teachers and students for differentiated instruction. And this is really a foundation of assessment. We want to understand what our individual student needs are, and we want to be able to respond to those student needs. So whether that's a content need, or whether that's an instructional approach that needs to be changed for a student or groups of students, or some way we respond to accessibility needs, we want to help teachers find the best ways to meet their students where they are. This is the foundation of our desire to offer this new product to you as a way to provide you with quality, aligned, and accessible supports to help you differentiate instruction and respond to those individual student needs. Before we jump in, let's look at the role of formative practices in our assessment. We know that strong teaching is really a conversation. It's a cycle of student feedback that we receive, and then we adjust our instruction. Get more information. Did students get it? Did they not get it? And then we adjust our instruction again. And this is that one piece in an assessment system that we call formative, right? We have summative tests at the end of a unit. We might have a diagnostic test to figure out some real specific student needs or those interim benchmark tests at specific periods. But that formative assessment, formative practices within the classroom is that cycle of feedback and adjusted instruction. And this is really that part of assessment that Tools for Teachers was created to help support. Let's take a closer look at some of those whys. Why consider using Tools for Teachers? First of all, Tools for Teachers promises quality resources because those resources have been vetted with educators, content experts, and accessibility experts. So this helps to ensure that only those very best, those highest quality resources will make it in. Second, all of the content is vetted for alignment, both to our content expectations and also rigor or cognitive complexity expectations. And sometimes it's especially hard to find activities that focus on those more complex cognitive skills or the higher levels of rigor, right? It can be hard to find some of those resources. And the resources here in this platform provide you with a variety of tasks that are related to those different cognitive complexities, including the higher levels, which are so important for us to help our students achieve. Third, there's this focus on accessibility. This is an essential value to us in the Office of Assessment, and that is ensuring that materials can be accessed by all student populations. Not only are resources provided accessibly, so for example, if there are videos, then closed captions are available, options are available for students who are blind or visually impaired, but also those instructional activities provide considerations for you as the teacher to be sure that you're thinking through ways you can make those activities accessible to all of your students. And then finally, but perhaps most importantly, this idea of differentiation is embedded directly within the platform. The resources are directly connected to what I would call performance level descriptors. So if you're familiar with our range PLDs for our state assessments, it's a little bit like that, and I'll show you that here in a bit. So this performance level descriptor for content, and the resources are designed really to support your formative process in the classroom. As students achieve parts of the content, then teachers can circle back and work towards achieving those pieces that are missing. So it's this connection to formative processes that's really key to best supporting our student needs. Now we're going to take a look at actually getting into the tools for teachers and accessing that tool. So I'm going to move away from our presentation slides right now, and I'm going to give you a demonstration of how you can access this site. And the site is available in Tide. So those of you who already have a username and a password to give online state tests, you can use those same login credentials to access tools for teachers. You don't need any new or additional access. So I'm going to pull this up here. This is the sign-in screen for Indiana's Tide system, and I'm going to go ahead and log in. And when you log in, you may not need to select a user role like I do, depending on how your login is set up, but you would just stay on that Indiana 2020-2021 test administration. And also, depending on your user account, you'll see different options down here in these columns. But what I want to focus on for this training for Tools for Teachers is this drop-down menu in the top left-hand side of the screen. This is where you toggle back and forth between the different systems that are embedded in Indiana's Tide. So how you get to the TA interface or the online reporting system. Now you'll see for this school year, Tools for Teachers is an additional option within that drop-down menu. So I'm going to select Tools for Teachers, and it's going to take me here to the Smarter Balanced login page. And I'm just going to have to log in one more time. Sometimes it remembers me, but sometimes I do have to log in again with those same user credentials. And this takes you to the search for resources page. So if I move over here to the left-hand side of the screen, I have several options. You can see because it says log out at the bottom, it shows that I am logged in. If I'm not logged in, I can access some resources, but not all. So I always like to just double check and make sure I'm logged in. And then I have a couple different options of things I can look for. I'm going to just stay on that find resources, which is what you see here, search for resources. And I have a couple of different options. I can use this keyword search by just typing in a keyword for the content or the skill that I'm going to be teaching, or I can use filter options. I'm going to focus right now on the keyword search. And I used to be a math teacher, so I'm just going to search for area of a triangle and then press enter. And I can see that 569 resources showed up. So there are lots of resources that would target area of a triangle. I could select this filter resources option, and I could filter it down and say I just want instructional resources, or I just want a certain grade level. So we'll let it filter here. I selected instructional. So it's going to take out some of these others. And let's just do grade 5. So it's going to take out the other grades. And I'm going to scroll down past my filter. So now I'm getting down to what I'm really looking for. And here's an instructional resource. You can see some of them actually are English language arts, so they might include the idea of the area of a triangle within. I am going to jump right into this one right here, this grade 5 math. Try our new volumizing formula. And this is what you'll see the instructional resources all look like. They're broken out into 3 different columns. On the left-hand side is an outline of what is included within the resource, and everything hyperlinks so you can see how to get started, this overview, a step-by-step of all of the different explorations, activities, practice opportunities, formative assessments that may be included within that lesson. And then also you will see attachments. Within the lesson, if there are any activities that students or the teacher might need either a PowerPoint or maybe they need a document to take notes or complete an activity, whatever it is. It could be a plethora of things, as you know. Those attachments are already created for you and included here. And you can download them, and all of these are editable documents. So if you want to download and make a real quick change and then save it for your students or use it, then that's fine. You'll also see different accessibility strategies that are being used within the lesson or that you can consider using for different student populations, specific things to consider, and also formative assessment processes that are suggested to be used if you're going to go through these activities and resources. One of the things I want to point out, and I'm going to scroll down through here, is you'll see what's embedded within this instructional resource. You will see in pink hyperlinked these different formative assessments that are suggested that you would give your students if you're working towards this content. And so you can select, and I'll go ahead and do that now, you can select that and you can get more information about what that strategy looks like. So let's jump back to the PowerPoint. We are going to now begin the search with everyone selecting the same thing so that our group can examine the same resource together. So on that main page, if you're logged in to Tools for Teachers, then let's select Filter Resources within the search bar. Under the Select a Type category, we'll be looking at instructional. So we're just looking for an instructional resource as I just showed you. We'll select grade 4, and then for subject, let's choose English Language Arts. Once you have selected those options, scroll down and you should see Attention to Detail as an instructional resource. So we can open up this resource and explore. The instructional resources are full of clickable links. Anytime you see that circle with the eye inside, that will provide you more information when you select it. And also any of those words in purplish pink font are selectable and they offer more information regarding whatever strategy is suggested. Then we can practice resetting the web page so that we can conduct a new search for a new instructional resource. And to do that, you just click on the magnifying glass in the top left corner to return to that Finding Resources main page. Now that we've looked at the instructional resources, I'd like to show you some of the embedded differentiated activities and also the connections playlist. So I'm going to move away from this slide presentation once more, and we're going to go back to that Smarter Tools for Teachers, and I'm going to go to Find Resources. And this time, instead of searching for a keyword, I'm just going to filter, and I want to take a look instead of instructional resources, which is what we've looked at so far in the training. I want to look at the connections playlist. The connections playlist is not vocabulary that we typically use in Indiana. It's probably pretty new, but basically what this resource is a guide to help you understand the different levels of achievement that a student might be demonstrating for specific content. So I'm going to just select grade 6 and I'm going to stick to the math. And I'm going to scroll down here past the filter and just look at this first one that comes up, which is statistics and probability. So I'm going to select that. And you'll see the same format as we saw for the instructional resource, which is the 3-column format. The left-hand side always gives you an overview of what is included. And then in the middle, you will see something that I hope looks familiar to everybody because this is the same format that we use in Indiana for our performance level descriptors or our PLDs that describe what students should demonstrate or achieve when they're should demonstrate that they have achieved on the state summative assessment. So you'll see here's this content, understanding central tendency, and you'll see examples of what students may have achieved if they're below reaching that target, near reaching that target, or above reaching that target. And this can kind of help you understand what different levels of students are probably showing. As the classroom teacher, you likely already have an idea of where different students in your class would fit in, where they are right now. And I'm going to scroll down because you'll see here under a few of them, you'll see the words future resource. That means that as far as activities and differentiation, this is something that they're still working on. This is a pretty new tool. But for the most part, I'm going to scroll down here. You'll see for the most part, there are specific activities that are designed to help support these different levels of student achievement. So you can just select that resource and it gives you some place to start right away for these different groups of students. Also below that, I'm going to scroll down, are specific suggestions for intervention for students who are below where they need to be on these groups of skills and on that content knowledge. If we go back, so I'm going to go back to the resources and I'm going to search for area of triangle again because I want to show you this connection. You don't have to search for an instructional resource and then search again for the connections playlist every time. If you're in an instructional resource, I'll just grab this first one that came up this time, which is trying triangles. And you see that 3-column format. So I haven't mentioned the 3rd column yet. So I want to mention it now. This is where in the instructional resource, you can come down here on the bottom right and it connects you right away to that connections playlist, which we just looked at. So if I'm working on this instructional resource and I want to see what are some specific ways I can respond and intervene for my students, whether they're below achieving, near achieving, or above, that I can differentiate my instruction. I can connect directly to that playlist from my instructional resource. So here's that playlist. I've got lots of resources and activities right here, my suggestions for intervention, specific things I can consider for this specific content level at this grade. So that connection makes it simple and easy to use. Okay, I'm going to go back now and toggle back over to our slide presentation here. And as we close out, I wanted to take a quick minute to talk about those other available searches as I just showed you. Instead of clicking on an instructional resource, you can search the Connections playlist, and that brings you to those performance level descriptors. Also, you can search for professional learning resource, and this gives you access to a library of topics that can be used for professional growth to help assist with the use of either interim or formative assessments, embedding those formative practices within your instruction. And these opportunities are organized in that same format as instructional resources, and you can individualize them for however you need to work through them. If a formative assessment strategy is selected, then you will get a list of formative assessment strategies that you can use across many different grade levels. And you can select that strategy, read through it, learn more about how you could implement that within your classroom. And they're organized so that educators can focus on one strategy at a time and kind of learn one formative assessment strategy, apply that, and then add that to your toolbox as you're moving along. And then finally, you can search for specific accessibility strategies that help you to meet those variety of student needs that are present in your classroom. And finally, I wanted to show you one additional search that you can use from that same Tools for Teachers website. If you want to look for sample items, you can access the sample test item website by scrolling to the bottom of that main page and clicking on sample items website as you see here on the screen. So first, let's click on the blue Browse Test Items bucket to see what we have. On this page, you can drill down as much as needed to target those sample items you're looking for. You'll see a list of different boxes. Blue is just ELA literacy and math is green, and you can look for that content that you are trying to assess. You can sneak a peek at the questions by clicking the box next to the word target. And if you like the question or you want to save it for later, you can click the select to print button at the bottom of the box. To reset your search, you can simply scroll to the top of the page and select home, and that'll take you back to this welcome page. Now let's click on that green Find Newly Released Items button and see where that takes us. From this screen, you select the grade level and subject of interest. And then here you're going to see those newly released items for the grade level and content that you selected. And you can just click on that item number if you want to view that. And then to conduct a new search, just click on that blue Go to Sample Items website button again. For the third and final type of search, you can select the Practice and Training Tests Are Available Here link underneath that picture of the children. You can select Indiana, or if you want to see what other states are doing, you can always select another state. And you'll now be taken to Indiana's site where you can choose the released items repository or the student and family resources selections, whichever best meets your need. This concludes our training for today. Thank you so much for your kind attention and for spending this time with us. As always, the school improvement and assessment teams are here to support you, so please don't hesitate to reach out to any member of the team for continued support or with further questions. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.